Okay, so the last time we were looking at loops, and we had examples with while loop and examples with for loop. Very basic examples. We just want to know how they work. The for loop in Python is very flexible. Like they've made it to where like it does magic behind the scenes, right? But we don't really care. Like I mean, it's like, oh, it's working for us. So let's look at another example with a for loop. So let me see here. Sure, so we had the list. For we had a range. Okay. And then we loop the list and a word list. Then I showed you how you could use a while loop to control a program. So right now, let's write a small example that shows us that with a for loop, we can use a counter that can skip, I guess, numbers, right? We can increment by 1, by 2, by 3, by 4, by 5, and they call it the step, right? So let's see how that one works. For num range with step value. So we need num1. So loop from this number to another number, right? So num2 step. Oh, sorry. Okay. And then we have a loop. So we say for in range, right? That's the special for loop. And then we say from num1 to num2 minus 1, I think. And then step. And then we print so that we can investigate what's going on. This does not return a value, so we're not going to. Let me see here. Why is it complaining? For n, not for in, for n. For n in range. Okay. So before we run this program, assuming we have like values 1 through 10, and we do step 2, then, well, actually we do step 1, then it means increment by 1. And then we do step 2, then increment by 2, and 3, increment by 3. So let's see how that works. Again, this is no test case here. We're just looking at output. So let me go here, repetition with step value, and we're saying like from 1 through 10 with 1 increment per step. So let's go here and run it. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We did learn from the examples last week that if we want to go right into, like, for example, 10, then we have to add 1, right? I think we did that here. Let me see here. So we have to add 1. So if we want to go all the way to num2, then we do plus 1. And if we run this again, then we'll see that now it goes up to 10, right? So range from 1 to 10, but we have to do plus 1 to 11. So let's see what happens if we increment by 2. So we have 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So what do we want is just to do even numbers and maybe start at 0. So we go here, and then we have 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Well, maybe we start at 2, right? So we start at 2, and we run it, and it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So that's with step 2. And we can also do like a increment by 3 or jump by 3 values. So we'll go here, then we'll see 2, 5, 8. And if we want odd numbers, then we put the number 1 there. And then we see, maybe I was thinking something else, sorry. If we want to start with 1, 4, 7, 10, right? So this is a bit like, they do a lot of programming behind the scenes for us that makes this loop like very easy for us to use, like very flexible. So questions here? So if we go back and go ahead, sorry, yes.
I have a question, but it's not related to this specific program. It's related to like GitHub in general.
Oh yeah, you can ask me after class.
Okay.
Yeah, so if we go back and look at the first example of a for range loop I gave you, it only has 2 numbers here, meaning 2 arguments. So we put 1, 1, but it's still incremented by 1, so we can assume that the for loop default incrementer is by 1. If we want to control that, then we can add another function argument, and that's the step. Like, how many steps do you want to increment by? By 1, by 2, by 3, by x, whatever. Okay, questions here? Before I go on to the next example.
Sir, the increments we do by step or like num plus whatever?
Okay, say again.
Okay, to increase the loop. So we do it through the steps or through the num2 plus 1 whatever.
This is to make sure you go up to like the number that you send into the function. So I send 10. So that's where I do plus 1. If I don't do plus 1, then it only goes up to 10 minus 1. Let me go back and
Okay.
you see, it only goes up to 7. But if I want to make sure it goes up to the number I send in, then I have to make sure I do plus 1. And if I run it again, notice. Sorry, run it. Oops, I'm not running main. Sorry, I'm running the functions. You see now to 10. So the step is what controls how many values you want to skip. Right, so I put 3 here. If I put 1, let me clear here. I'm in main, and now it's incrementing by 1. If I put 2 for the step, then it's 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, right? So I think that's what I was thinking when I said if we want odd numbers. With 3 it won't work, but with 2 it does. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Okay. So again, just another way of using a for loop, right? So makes it very easy for us to use. Let me see here. So let me save. Well, let me write another example. Let me see if I have it here. Sum of squares. Sum of squares. User control. Okay, this was a program I wrote, right? So okay. So maybe let's do one more simple example. We'll say let's do def, and we want to get some with 4, right? So if we send in like the value 3, we want like 1 plus 2 plus 3, and we return that value. Okay, I'll show you what I mean. So we need some number, and then we have this one does return a value 4, and in range num. So notice this one, like we only have one value here. So then we will go up to that number -1. So let's see how this one will work. And here we just want to tabulate some values. So we'll say, okay, sum your 0. And then in here we'll say sum plus equal to n plus 1. Okay, so this is the same as sum equals sum plus n plus 1. Sum plus equal n plus 1. Questions here with plus equals? I mean, it's just a shortcut, like for doing, it's really a shortcut just for doing like sum equals sum plus 1. So if we do sum equals sum plus 1, but we want a shortcut, then we can just say sum plus equal 1. And whatever sum's value is, Python will add 1 to it, okay? Here it may look a little odd because we have n, right? And that's, remember, n is going to be changing for each time it loops. So we want to make sure we add plus 1 because it'll start at 0, but we want to start at 1. I'll trace it so that I can explain myself better. So let's see here. Print, not print, return sum. So let me go back here, enter, return sum. Okay. So if we send in value 3, then we want to do 1 plus 2 plus 3 equals 6. That's what we just want to loop and add the next number to the sum and the next number to the sum and return that value. Okay, so let's test it. So we go to test repetition, go here, dev test sum for self is required. We create an assertion, assert equal get sum for value 3. That should be equal 6. Go here, quick fix, add, and it'll add get sum for us right here. Okay, so let me clear output, clear, and go to run test, run the test. We're looking for get test sum for right here, and it's okay. Maybe we should write another, like add another like test assertion. So we go to the test case and we're like, okay, let's do 4, right? So that would be 10, right? So if we go back to the algorithm, we're simply doing 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, right? So 6 plus 4 is 10. That's how I got the value 10. And we have 10 here. Let's go to run test. And it's okay. It runs. Let's trace this, right? So that we can understand what's going on. So we go here and we're like, I think we need to test this piece. I mean, trace it like we did the other ones on the previous lecture. And that'll help us understand what's going on. So let's go here. So we have that code, and then we have our table. So we have the number of loops. We'll track that. And then we have the value of n. And then we have sum, okay? So we have on loop 0, n is equal to 0. Sum starts at 0, okay? So then we have 0 plus, so this statement 0 plus 1, this one here. So sum is 1. And then we go to the second loop, and for each time that we loop, Python automatically adds 1 to n, right? So it's at 0 here, so then it'll be 1. So then we have sum plus equal n plus 1, so sum equals to 1 plus the value of n plus, let's see, 1 plus, and no, plus 2, right? So 1 plus 2, sorry, equals 3. And then that on the third loop, this value is 2. So then we have 3. So 3 plus 2, which is the value of n, plus 1, right? I'm executing this statement here, n plus 1. So 3 plus 2 plus 1 equal 6. And let's go ahead and do the value up to 4. So then this one is 3. So then we have 6 plus n, which is 3, plus 1. So 4 plus 6 equal 10. And then that's the value if we send in the number 4 into the function, meaning we say get sum 4 with value 4. Okay, that's the trace. Make sure you understand how to trace loops, because you will get assignments and quizzes to make sure that you understand what's going on in loops. It'll help you in the long run. So questions here?
The second line is 1 plus 1 equals 2 or 3?
1 plus 1 is 2, plus 1, 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's sum equals sum plus 1, right? So the current value of sum is this one here, and then we add n plus 1. So 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, so no questions. Now let's look at another example. Let me see here. Okay, so let me stop the recording and then I'll start another video right away.